Good Friday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Well, currently a chilly 37 degrees outside here at the farm this morning, but I will say we've had some phenomenal weather, and it looks like more great weather ahead for farmers to keep the combines rolling this harvest season. Now, looking to other notes, Grow Next Gen brings agricultural science to the classroom. Learn more at grownextgen.org. Now let's look at some of your agricultural news headlines. A new economic study paints a troubling picture of the potential results a new U.S. trade war could have on hundreds of thousands of rural communities. It shows that American-imposed tariffs would come at a steep cost to American farmers and ranchers while benefiting Brazil and Argentina. The study was commissioned by the American Soybean Association and the National Corn Growers Association and showed an immediate drop in corn and soybean exports to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Brazil and Argentina would immediately step in to claim the lost market share. The study highlighted the dangers that come with broad tariffs on imports, says NCGA lead economist Krista Swanson. While launching tariffs may seem like an effective tool, they will boomerang and cause unintended consequences. American Soybean Association chief economist Scott Garrett says the study shows a significant trade war that would easily compound the challenges, placing stress on America's producers. Now let's check in with Dave Russell as he has an update with this week's Agronomy Update.
This week on the Pioneer Fall Agronomy Update, Pioneer field agronomist in north central Ohio, Ryan Clamfeth, says while not as prevalent as 2023, white mold in soybeans here in 2024 is worth noting.
We're finding in heavy white mold areas where white mold is an issue year after year and taking a significant amount of yield for farmers that we need to add in some more management. In particular, there's some newer fungicides on the market that we can apply and, helps control and suppress further that infestation. So that's something that most farmers, I think, should consider adding if they're really struggling with white mold. But we're finding some people, they'll want to choose a good white mold variety, and then they kind of forget about it. And that's not going to work where we've got a lot of disease pressure. So those are some things people can do to help their situation.
When it comes to corn, Clamfeth says 2024 is a good reminder why planting a mix of hybrids makes sense.
Some of these hybrids this year in the dry weather, they died prematurely. They couldn't take stress. So every hybrid makes its yield differently. You can see that in the ear architecture. And I think when a farmer buys seed, he needs to find that trusted person that understands all this, that walks plots and takes notes and can put together a nice mix of hybrids that'll do well for them, regardless of what weather may happen, next year in 25.
For my complete interview with Pioneer agronomist Ryan Clamfeth, go to featured audio at ohioagnet.com. I'm Dave Russell.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Well, John Deere is announcing new layoffs with sharp declines in equipment sales. Due to reduction in demand for equipment, John Deere has informed employees at 3 of its facilities in the Quad Cities of upcoming layoffs effective January 3rd. These include John Deere Harvester Works in East Moline, Illinois, about 200 production employees, John Deere Davenport Works in Davenport, Iowa, about 80 production employees, and John Deere Seeding and Cylinder Operations in Moline, Illinois, about 7 production employees. Deere's Harvester Works employs 1,880. Its Davenport Works counts 1,024 total employees, and Deere's Seeding and Cylinder Operations currently is about 625 total employees. Deere has laid off more than 2,000 production and salaried employees over the past year. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Did you know soybeans' #1 customer is animal agriculture? That includes Ohio's pig farms. Soybeans provide a blend of protein and energy to keep Ohio pig farms growing. Nationally, Ohio ranks 7th in pork production, and those pigs consume 6.3 million metric tons of soybean meal. It takes a lot of soybeans to make that kind of bacon. Soybeans feeding the industry that feeds us. Brought to you by the Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Soybeans grown in Ohio and across the heartland are meeting the feedstock demand for clean fuels. Biodiesel is a clean-burning and reliable fuel that enhances engine life, power, and mileage. Plus, this high-performance fuel works in any diesel engine without modification. With biodiesel, we fuel the economy, do good for the environment, and support soybean farmers. Learn how using biodiesel can add value to every bushel of soybeans grown at soyohio.org.
Now let's check out your harvest weather for today and as we head into the weekend, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Pretty close to a fully dry forecast for Ohio going forward. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at the Ohio Ag Weather Update. Here's what's going on. We are looking at a mostly dry forecast. If there's any threat of moisture at all, here's where it's going to be in my forecast. Overnight next Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, maybe a few spits and sprinkles in northern tier counties, northwestern counties of Ohio. If you don't see it there, I don't think you see anything over the next 10 days. But before we get to that, let's talk about near term. We've got high pressure still sitting over the southeastern part of the United States. As long as it sits there, we're going to be seeing winds rotate around that coming into Ohio from the southwest. That's warming us nicely, giving us good sunshine and drying that it's going to go through the weekend and into early next week. There is a weather system coming together in the Four Corners region of the U.S. here tomorrow and into the weekend that's going to create nice moisture for parts of the southern plains and central plains, but once it breaks free and moves our direction, it loses moisture very, very quickly. That's the remains that are going to be giving us a chance for spits and sprinkles next Tuesday night into Wednesday. So if we don't get anything out of that, like I said, we are fully dry. Cooler air comes in behind that disturbance for next Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, sagging southward across the Great Lakes. The cool air running into the warm air maybe triggers another round of clouds in southern parts of Ohio for Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. But at this point, I'm leaving precipitation out. I think we're dry then through the end of next weekend. Temperatures warming back up nicely. Great opportunity to continue harvest. I know most of you want some rain. I don't have any to give you in this forecast. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's check in with Dale Minyo as he has an update from this week's Feeding Farmers.
Joining me, Chuck Stoner. We're on the Stoner Farm, northern Mercer County. Chuck, thanks for having us out for Feeding Farmers in the field. Tell us a little bit about the operation this year. Mother Nature has been varied, but you seem to come out of it pretty well.
Yes, we have been very short on rain, but the crops look exceptional for being hot and dry.
As you look to corn, you've gotten some done. How does it look?
Better than I expected, 145, 150. I look to get better corn as I go north, more rain north.
As we looked at the field, we found a little deer trail, and they knocked a few down. We rolled some of those back. Pretty impressive, complete out to the end. Maybe you'd like a little bit more kernel depth, but I was really surprised how good it looked.
I agree. When we went to look for it, I said, well, this ain't my best field, but I was shocked.
Now, the outside of that was still green. Do you have any idea why that outside row or two might have been still green?
Might have been a little rougher when I planted it. It took a little moisture to get the kernels to sprout and come up later, so it'd be not mature yet.
Beans not quite as mature as you'd like to have them, so you're letting them a couple more days, and you said the frost will slow that down.
Yeah, the frost will definitely add moisture to them. It'll be 3-4 days till we can cut. I'll start again Saturday and finish in 4 days maybe.
Maybe, but again, not totally disappointed. Moisture would have made a world difference. Everyone we visited this year described it as the crop that could have been.
Yes, I have a beautiful stand, but I've never combined so many BBs in my, well, not even BBs. They're smaller than that in my life, but.
Immature BBs.
Yes, and the stalks are immature. Planted a little later variety. I just got to wait on it.
As the operation grows and technology expands, you're actually working on the dryer system now.
Yes, we're drying corn this morning. So far, I haven't heard too many complaints from the operator, so I guess we're doing what's supposed to do.
Chuck Stoner, my guest, week number 4 winner in Feeding Farmers in the Field.
Hey, thanks, Dale, for that update. Well, an American Farm Bureau official says the November election and the difficulty of rulemaking could push the 45Z tax credit rule for biodiesel and sustainable aviation fuel past the November 1st deadline. The calendar tells a story. American Farm Bureau Director of Government Affairs, Joe Gilson.
A lot of focus right now in Washington, D.C. is on the election. And, we're not sure that they're going to meet that November 1st timeline.
That complicates things, not just for sustainable aviation fuel production, but also that of biodiesel and renewable diesel.
The longer these rules go, the less guidance that these biodiesel and renewable diesel plants will have. And they're not sure how to price that soybean oil right now because there's a lot of uncertainty around the tax credit structure.
And there's more uncertainty about the power structure in the nation's capital.
We are less than 3 weeks away from an election, and so whoever the next administration is and whatever the makeup of Congress is will have a big say in how these rules are written.
Gilson says the Farm Bureau feels the Biden administration can provide farmers and biofuel producers with certainty and a new major market before leaving office. That's a key reason American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall and other farm leaders met with the president's climate advisor, John Podesta, at the White House a few days ago. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio is your Medicaid plan for more. More benefits, more rewards. We know that good health means more than just seeing a doctor when you're sick. Eligible members can receive extras like home-delivered meals and family essentials, like baby carriers and kids' school supplies. Members can even earn rewards for playing mobile health trivia games. Learn more at AmeriHealthCaritasoh.com and call the Ohio Medicaid Consumer Hotline at 1-800-324-8680 to choose AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio.
Those long days in a tractor cab can really put a cramp in your body. So while refueling or refilling your equipment, walk around the tractor a few times or do a few head-to-toe stretching exercises. When fatigue does set in, that's when injuries and mistakes happen. Know when it's time to take a break and recharge. Let's make sure everyone gets home safe and sound. This message from the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension, Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
It's now time for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, and that's brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished a Thursday actually a little bit higher. Taking a look at the numbers, we were fractionally mixed on corn, higher nearby, lower in the deferreds. Beans were up 1 to 8 cents depending on where you were looking at. Bean meal was up a bit. Bean oil also stronger. Wheat finishing 4 to 8 cents higher depending on which one you were looking at, Chicago, KC, or Minneapolis. Interesting day yesterday overall. It seems like the biggest part of the bounce was at least spurred on by bottom picking. Funds trying to find a little bit of a bottom. We have seen open interest continue to widen over the past few days of downward move, which means there were new shorts coming into the marketplace. That ultimately may limit what kind of bounce we do see, although it'll be interesting to see how Friday does turn out. Bottom picking was one issue, but also South American weather that had been talked about as being better for production, and maybe the midday models turned a little bit more averse. World demand did see some increases, China in particular. As we move forward, we're looking at this rally probably not lasting exceptionally long. As we move into the later part of October, harvest pressure still being talked about in a big way. We did have some flash reported sales yesterday. 197,000 tons of corn to Mexico, 101,000 tons of corn to unknown. No soybean sales were reported yesterday. Brokers estimate that managed money funds were about even on soybeans and corn. Sold about 2,900 contracts of wheat in Chicago. Other stories in the marketplace, weekly export sales report not coming out till Friday because of the Columbus Day holiday to start this week. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight markets, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, I like when I see everything in the green in Chicago. Let's start off with December corn, 407.5, up 3/4. March corn, 421.5, up 1/4. May corn, 429.25, up 1/2. November soybeans, 992.25, up 3.5. January soybeans, 1001.5, up 3.5. March soybeans, 1013, up 3.25. December wheat, 592, up 2.5. March wheat, 612.25, up 2 3/4. Now looking at livestock from yesterday's close, October live cattle 186.62, down 42 cents. December live cattle 186.17, down 42 cents. December lean hogs 77.67, down 2 cents. February lean hogs 81.55, up 45 cents. November feeder cattle 245.75, up 25 cents. January feeder cattle 243.12, down 22 cents. December class 3 milk 21.60, up 11 cents. To stay up to date on all the latest agricultural news, you can find that at ohioagnet.com. Have a great day, everyone, and continue to be safe out there this harvest season. I'm Joe Everett, and you're listening to the Ohio AgNet.